Hello. Welcome to season 3, episode 8 of Rewind with Ro. I'm your host, Ro Carter, and my amazing co-host,
Rob Smith.
Looks like he's dying over there. But hey, welcome, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm living life.
Okay.
I'm back in LA. But you know,
living life like it's golden. Okay, all right.
Like it's golden.
The last day of Black History Month. 29 days we got. Leap year. Anything that you want to get off your chest, Rob, for Black History Month? Any last words you want to say before we go into March?
Yeah. Black history is American history. So it's every day of the year. So let's not, just end celebrating the accomplishments and the contributions of Black Americans to culture and society. Today, let's continue it for the whole year. You asked me what my thoughts were. So
great, Rob. I mean, it felt like you had a gun to your head, behind the camera. You're like, hey, all right, now go, say it.
There was no gun to my head. That was my true.
Read your ransom list. You're like, yeah, so this is, okay. All right, good. Hey, great. 29 days. It felt like society was just urging to man, I can't do one more day. Like, from Trump selling sneakers to Black folks to everything, it just felt like, it was like, you got one more day this year. I don't know. I'm going crazy. I'm getting antsy. But,
I can't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. But
he sat there and told them people. He said, "Oh, it's so bright in here. I can only see the Black ones," and they're still like, "Oh, I love him." Oh God, I can't take y'all.
There's only 4 brothers there, and 3 of them were like his people. So they were like, "Yes, Hercules, yeah."
I got on your gold shoes, tapping. Sorry.
So anyway, how's your week going so far?
Going great.
We took a hiatus. Sorry, everybody, about last week. Rob is a very busy man.
I'm sorry. I'm
sorry. You're one person. You're doing 20 jobs. You got one person doing 20 jobs, getting paid for one. So hey, it is what it is. What it is.
I'm just, it's exhausting flying back between Miami and LA, and it's a lot. Every week.
We're gonna see a black crack. We're gonna find out.
It's not cracking still.
No, I'm I didn't say it was. I just said we're gonna find out though. Moisturize, stop playing. All right, everybody.
Too much.
Oh God, this guy. Anyway, going into this week, we wanted to close out with a banger here. So we did not pick Bob Marley. Yeah, because we decided to go a different route.
That was my fault. It was a lot, bro. You wanted to do 3 things.
You just watched these 2 movies yesterday. Bro, when I give you the list, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens. I give him the movies for next week right after this show is over. You would think going into the weekend he'd watch one, just so you got one off your list. No. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? He'll wait until the day of or the day before to watch 2. Have it make sense.
Because my life is mapped out.
And Rob, you had 2 weeks. It was I gave this to you 2 weeks ago. We didn't do the show last week.
In all fairness, my birthday was right after that show, so
you one of those people. You're like, it's my birthday month. All right,
I got a whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of celebrations, and I flew right to Miami, and then I was in Miami for the whole week. So it was a lot. It was just a lot.
All right. I digress. Anyway, so due to that, we'll try to watch it for next month. But tonight, what we have for you is Boscoe, which is based on a true story, and then we have Franklin, which is from the Peanuts world.
Welcome home, Franklin.
I was going to get until we do it. Hey, you know what, Rob? You take over. You do what you want to do. No, seriously. You do it. You do what you want to do.
I'm going to mute myself.
All right. No, you don't have to mute, but I mean, if you want to do your thing. Yes. So when we were going to get into the movies, I was going to actually give you the title. But I was just telling the audience, the 2 people that watch, that, hey, this is what we're discussing this week. That's what I was going to do. So anyway, going into it's Welcome Home, Franklin on Apple TV. Franklin gets his own little mini-series. Not a mini-series. He gets one movie, 39 minutes. So again, it's kid-friendly. It's adult-friendly. A little bit of everything. It's great conversational piece with the kids. So I kind of like it, especially in this day and age. where we discuss some topics, but it was very light. I don't know what he's doing there. Okay.
What was that?
Rob's popping bottles over there. Rob's popping
That
bottles.
wasn't me. That was on your side.
It wasn't me. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. So we have Boscoe and we have Welcome Home Franklin. Which one would you like to do first, Rob? I will give you the honor.
Let's do Welcome Home Franklin.
Wow, here we go, everybody. Welcome Home Franklin. Let me turn my pages to my notes. That's what we do here, up in here. Now, when I went into this, Welcome Home Franklin, I picked this because I heard on Instagram, I was like, oh, Franklin's getting his own movie. I was like, oh my God, we have to do this. We have to do this. The timing just happens to be that it was in Black History Month, so even better. Franklin came onto the scene back in 1968. One of the writers that did Peanuts and did the comic strip, if you guys remember newspaper back in the day, a lot of you kids don't even know what that is. There were newspapers, and in the newspapers there were funnies, and the Peanuts had like a little strip, and that's where we were introduced to Franklin. This is also on the heels of Martin Luther King just passing away. So it was a very historical moment, not only for print and for the cartoons and the funnies, but just for Black people in general, just to be represented, and you had a young Black kid there. Later on down the line, you would see Franklin get his actually seat at the table. I kind of like that. Franklin got a seat at the table. It was very awkward, though, because Franklin's on one side of the table and other kids the other, but we won't talk about that. That was just another. But hey, you got a seat. It's not always where you sat, but you got a seat. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so Franklin gets his own kind of spinoff here, which is a great moment. I wish they would have done more publicity for this. I feel like I didn't really hear about it the way I should have, right? I feel like, back in the day when there was a Charlie Brown special, you knew about it, right? Friday night, it was like Charlie Brown presents, a Christmas or a Thanksgiving. Like you always knew about it. For this one, it was like, Franklin did what?
Because this was like Charlie Brown presents Black History Month, but they really didn't promote it at all, which I thought was odd, but well, maybe not. But like you said, I wish they would have done a little bit more promo for it, because it was actually it was a cute little short film.
That's what it was. So basically, we follow Franklin. We find out that he is an Army kid, and his dad travels all around the country. And so you kind of see that as a young kid. Now imagine as a young Black kid, when you move to new cities, you try to meet friends. And so luckily, he has this trusted book that has all his notes from his grandfather to kind of help guide him through that, which I thought that was really cool, right? And then that symbiotic, that family tie of like, hey, I pass this down to the next generation. And I kind of love that book. And now Franklin can add some things in for his kids later on, So that was a special touching moment. But anyway, we follow Franklin into this new town where he meets all the Peanuts characters. And one day he's playing on the beach and he runs into Charlie Brown, which everybody knows Charlie Brown is Charlie Brown. And so in meeting Charlie Brown, they become friends and decide to enter into soapbox contest. And in doing so, Charlie Brown is not always known for doing these successfully. And Franklin kind of finds that out on his own. But in that, they build a friendship. And I don't want to give it away, but we find out, just like we leave off in the story, like they're in the race and then something crazy happens and then it unfolds. They give you the backstory. So anyway, what did you think about this when you first heard they were doing a Franklin? Was it about time or did they do justice to it? What did you think, Rob?
I didn't hear about it until you were like, hey, we should review Welcome Home Franklin. I'm like, what is this? I had no idea what it was. And like you said, I think part of that was because I didn't see any promo really at all for it, which sucks. I wish they would have done more to push it. So when you actually brought it to my attention, I was like, okay, let me look into this and see what it is. And I didn't realize either that it was like, it's only like 44 minutes long. So it's not a hard watch. It's a short, essentially. And I enjoyed it. But sometimes I get annoyed by the messages that they want to give kids in these films. But overall,
we're gonna go into that. We're gonna go into the messaging in this. We're gonna go into it. Okay.
That's why I was like, I'm not gonna say too much yet, because I know you probably gonna, pick that apart later. But I didn't know what to expect because I didn't hear anything about it at all. I definitely didn't expect for it to be like this Black History Month special, which it ended up being, I think.
It was a watered down version of Black History Month for a certain group of people.
they like slid a couple of little Black history things in there. So I was like, oh, that's what this is about. So it's a let's give them a special for the month since we had a Black character in it. But fair enough. It was adorable, and I think it'll be a fun watch for families.
Yes, and so there's a part in the movie where Franklin and Charlie Brown are discussing music and just life and stuff like that. And Charlie Brown asks him, "Hey, Franklin, who do you want to be when you grow up?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to be an astronaut." And Franklin asks Charlie Brown, "Who do you want to be?" And he's like, "Well, I want to be a baseball player because I love to travel to different cities." And then Franklin's like, "Ooh, I don't like traveling to different cities. I don't know if you're going to like it as much as you think because that's his life now." So it leads into other conversations where they start talking about the Negro League. And I felt that, listen, they missed a huge opportunity to have a deep conversation about this. And I want to quote this right. I don't want to mess this up. Franklin's explaining the Negro League. Charlie Brown's like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Well, there was a time when Black and white baseball players weren't allowed to play together. So the Black players formed their own league." Really? And do you think Charlie Brown would ask a question after that? No, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Brown does not. He just goes like, "Thank you, Franklin. Thank you, Black friend. That was great." What? And so my only gripe with this movie, I think it's well done, especially for Peanuts. They didn't go there, and I think it missed a huge opportunity for them to just go and have a discussion. And it didn't have to be like, oh, pointing fingers and doing that. But let's you're in the room, right? The elephant's in the room. Let's talk about it. And so my other thing was, does it take place in 1968? Is it a period piece or not? Because it looks more modern day, but the conversation, like even when he talks about who's your favorite music, he's like Stevie Wonder. He's doing all these jazz musicians. I'm just like Coltrane. I'm like, wait, is he an old Black man reincarnated into a young kid? Like, and again, I'm a fan. When I was a kid, I was taught about these artists and musicians, but at the same time, it's like, you're a kid. Like I didn't know if it was a period piece or not, because it felt, when he started talking about it, I was like, well, back in my day, son, we did this and we did that. It was just very weird. But otherwise, I thought it was a fun trip, and you really got to see Franklin's character and learn more about him. He gets a last name, Armstrong, which is based after the actual writer who came up with Franklin's character. So they wanted to give a tribute to him. So again, it all ties together, but I just felt that it definitely missed some opportunities where you could have those uncomfortable conversations and really talk about it. But it ties in with a bow at the end where you feel like, oh, okay, there's always a moral to something. Friendship, when you're alone, how do you make friends in a new place and stuff like that. So great for that. But I really felt the uncomfortable conversation they didn't have. And one thing I'll add before I let you go is my friend, white guy, Mikey, shout out to you. He took his son to the Baseball Hall of Fame, some of that. And then his son asked that same question. And that's why I was so upset when I did. Yeah, he's like, "Hey, so Dad, what is that?" And he explained that to him. And then he asked another question after that. And I was like, oh, so that's what kids would do. They would ask another question.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, I digress. What do you think, Rob? Tell me, is there other points where you were like disappointed, or how'd you feel in the movie overall?
I think that they, like you said, they try to sprinkle in these little conversations. Like when Franklin first pulls into the town, he's like, "Oh, it's really hard to make friends, especially in a town where there's not that much diversity." And they show all the little white kids sitting outside, and he's like looking out of the window, like,
"Yeah, this is great."
Run out to the sea of no Black people. So they like
lack of variety in the place is what they say.
Yeah, there's lack of variety. And then when they did bring up the Negro League conversation, it was a brief conversation, but I think because the film's only 43 minutes long, I don't think they were going to have them sit down and like hammering wheels and doors.
No, but bro, you could at least go a little deeper. Like, hey, why did that happen? Do you know why that happened? Well, and even introduce. It was the first time I think. I'm sorry. You go. I will finish when.
No, but they started to. They named some famous athletes, and then they got into the process of naming famous musician
because all we are for is for music.
But hey, I think this was their way of creating a Charlie Brown Black History Month special. That's what they could do. I don't know if they wanted to like go into like slavery in this Charlie Brown special, but
Listen,
but I do think they sprinkled it in enough so that we knew that that's what it was about. And it was about this Black kid integrating himself into this community of all white kids. And he was talking about his lived experience. And what I think they did was they tried to like infuse little elements of his culture. Like his family was a military family and his grandfather was, you know, left him all these little jewels. Like they were trying to incorporate those things that I guess could be tied to like Black culture. So they were trying family values, Black culture. So they were trying to infuse like famously in Charlie Brown shows, we don't ever hear the adults talk. They just go wah, 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 wah. So we're only really hearing a child's perspective. So he talked a lot about his grandfather and how his grandfather influenced him and how his grandfather helped him to learn to have courage and to, you know, make his way in new spaces because he always had to make new friends. And then they did sprinkle in a little bit of history with the Negro League. And then he was like, oh, what's your favorite music? And they started to talk about Black musicians and naming Black musicians who I'm sure a lot of the kids who watch Charlie Brown have never heard of. So they were just trying to sprinkle in that information. And yes, it is Charlie Brown. So they couldn't be like, this is Charlie Brown circa 2024. And he's like, hey, my favorite artist is Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion. I don't think they could have done that because Charlie Brown is set in a specific time. So
I understand, but there are other Black artists and musicians that you could have named.
What did he say?
Cardi B and you know.
But I'm just saying, like, it was appropriate for.
I love Drake. Did you hear the new Drake out? You know, it's like
it was appropriate for the time of Charlie Brown. Like, it was still set in the era of Charlie Brown, so it wasn't like modern day. These kids never aged, so it made sense.
It's like The Simpsons. They're always like, we're stuck. That's it.
Yeah.
I thought there was another missed opportunity was you could have introduced his family, right? Like you could have gave him a sister, you could have gave him a younger brother, and then that way you build on that, right? You could have like they were just like, you know what? We're gonna put it. No one can complain anymore. We made you a movie. Shut up. Here you go. That's honestly that's how I felt at some points. I was like, there's a good opportunity here where you can say maybe you break the mold, right? And you actually have his mom speak, or Charlie Brown asks the question. Hey, no. I understand that, but explaining something. Hold on, let me ask my dad. One. This is what. Oh, that's what he said. Oh, this is the answer to that. Oh, Charlie Brown, I don't know that answer. Why it was. And then dad comes in. Well, son, this is. That's it. And then there's so many ways they could have done that, but I was really disappointed that they didn't give him a sister or younger sister or brother, because that's how you kind of make a mold and you can give him his own kind of lane. All right. Thank you so much, Rob. It's killing me.
I don't know. I guess if there's going to be a Franklin spinoff,
how do you make sequels? How do you make another thing? You got to add people in there. Give Franklin some
brothers and sisters. He was riding in the trunk of that car when
I know, and that's my whole point. Though you missed the opportunity to give him something, or at least mom was pregnant. Like, hey, coming soon, Franklin Jr. Like, you know, like, come on, man. Like, it felt like someone put this on their desk. Like, okay, what do you got to do today? I got to make this story. Okay, Franklin. Okay. You want to keep it going? You want to make some money down the line or keep story? Like, people don't understand the merch that you can get for, like, I want Franklin merch. I was looking for Franklin merch. No, they did. It's as if Apple said, you know what? Here you go. It reminded me of the first Black Panther. And my friend worked for Disney, and she was telling me, she goes, they didn't even think about merch, but they didn't even think it was going to be successful.
Which is crazy.
No, but seriously. And then the second time around, you saw all this merch, and I was like, like, come on, guys. Franklin's coming out. You don't think I was gonna buy a Franklin T-shirt for this. I was like, I had to go on some other random site. And I was like, I don't trust that site to go get a Franklin T-shirt. Like, Apple, give me a click button at the bottom. Boom. Yeah, Franklin
at least promoted the movie. Like, at minimum, they could have promoted the movie.
That's it.
At all. So,
welcome home, Franklin T-shirt. Like, I don't understand. Like, bro, you couldn't have in the hood, like shoot him out. Don't shoot him out in the hood. I'm sorry. T-shirts.
Send that email to Apple. You send it.
Hey, what I got to lose at this point? Who's your marketing people? Like, seriously, like what is going on, Apple? I get a million texts and all this other stuff going on my phone. Why not? You know what? If you really know your black users, that's what you should have done. You know when? Because Apple, don't forget, I got a U2 album that I didn't want. No one wanted that U2 album, and you figure that out. You couldn't give me a commercial ad for Franklin.
Something.
Just saying.
Someone missed the opportunity. Promo.
Pay me. Come on, 10%. That's all. Pay me. Anyway, moving right along. Do you want to add anything else before we move on?
Yeah, no, I think it was a fun watch. I think people should definitely like watch it with their kids over the weekend. Take time, watch a little Welcome Home Franklin.
And have that conversation. Talk about it. Talk about it. Don't be shy. Talk about it.
Yeah, there was a time when the blacks and the whites couldn't play baseball together. Yeah.
It was crazy time, you know. And then one day, this black man broke the color barrier. And he, he almost got killed for it, but we won't talk about that.
Yes, they didn't dive into it as much as they probably could have, for sure.
Okay. Anyway,
but I still enjoy. I thought it was a cute little fun short. And people,
you want to give it a rating, or you want to just move along?
Just move along.
Okay.
You be really want to.
I will ask you this: you got to rate one of the movies we watched tonight. So, do you want to rate this one, or do you want to rate the next one? All right, here we go. All right, so no ratings tonight. You know, because of Black History Month, we're gonna say everything. Just see it. Just give everybody a chance. That's what we're gonna say here. Nothing but love.
Yeah.
Moving right along, Boscoe, that is currently on Peacock right now, came out on February 2nd, and it is the true life story of a young black man who is actually escaped out of prison, which is crazy. A federal maximum security prison. A black man escaped out of federal. This isn't like no Hollywood fake stuff. This is a true story because he wanted to see his baby's mama have birth. And so this movie is tough. And the reason why I say it's tough is because I went in here, most movies where you watch a character who is dealing with something and who is trying to make it out of the system, you kind of root for them. But this character, you're kind of stuck with that. So I had the pleasure of interviewing two of the cast and also the director. Director's name was Nicholas Manuel Pino. And Vivica A. Fox, shout out to her. She gave me a shout out. I'll post it up later. You can also see this, I believe, on Black Film.
Yes.
Okay, it's up. Hey, I gotta ask. I mean, hey, you know, man's busy. So you can see the interview on blackfilm.com. Didn't say he didn't do it. I just said he's very busy. And then the young man who plays Quante Bosco Adams, he's played by Aubrey Joseph, which hilarious. This dude, he had like a saddle. Like, I love these young kids, like the whole like look nowadays of what's in and whatnot. So he had this big white furry cut off sweater, and then he had like as if you were gonna ride on a horse, like the big saddle, back in the West when you put your stuff on the back of the horse, and he rode that like a backpack. He had that over his arm, and I was like, and I started the interview, and I was like, oh man. And I didn't. I almost went in, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it because you gotta give love. But hey, the kid, and Vivica was like, okay, baby, that's all right. Yes.
You and Vivica, y'all had a little. It was fun. Y'all had some good chemistry in that interview.
Listen, man,
Auntie Viv,
ladies love me, Auntie Viv. I would say, hey, Auntie, but I knew she was gonna cut me, so I didn't do that.
She calls herself Auntie Viv and Auntie Vivica in the commercial.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't want to, keep it. But anyway, going back to the movie. Get off track here. So we are the one. Let's get some positive notes out. Love the casting. So I gave a shout out to Nicholas because he did an amazing job of the casting. Theo Rossi, who plays Ramos, one of the guards in the jail. Thomas Jane, who plays Hunt, the head guy who runs the prison. And then there's DC Youngfly, who's kind of picking up momentum now. He's actually getting really good roles and showing that he can act. I already said Aubrey and Vivica. Tory Lanez is in this. Also, Tyrese Gibson. Didn't know why I didn't want to do an interview, but hey, that's Tyrese. And And Nikki Blonsky, who plays Tammy, she was in Hairspray. She plays his love interest in terms of Conte Bosco Adams. He's locked up in prison. He's in a federal maximum security, but they have a phone actually in their room, which, all right, sure. And so one of these inmates next door says, hey, you stop going crazy. Why don't I give you an ad? And he kind of looks up an ad for like women who are just trying to find love. And he winds up calling her. And then they become a love interest later on in the film, which kind of leads to him helping him getting out of this. So there's a lot of stories going on. We also learn about the relationship that he had with Tyrese, who was his dad, who plays Tootie, and his relationship as a young kid. So there's a lot of flashbacks, and also Vivica A. Fox's character. We see her as a younger character, as an older character, younger mom and an older mom. And when he kind of escapes, she's like, well, what are you going to do now? Right. And that, so I was, the movie can be very frustrating, but the one thing I said is like, you don't know whether to root for him or not root for him because, hey, he's just an F up at the end of the day. And so you're just like, at some point, you're like, man, what are we doing here? Like you can't just keep escaping out of prisons. And what's the point, right? Are you learning your lesson? So that was my one frustrating thing. I love the cast though. And I felt like they missed an opportunity to really bring it home, but there's some very great one-on-one points and scenes with the actors there. Again, like I said, tight cast. I just don't know. I wanted a little bit more direction because most of the times you want to have a hero or you want to root for somebody. And I didn't have anybody I could root for in this movie. That's what I felt like. I was like, who am I rooting for? I was like, am I just watching the film and understanding the story, or am I rooting? Can I root for somebody so I can like power through it? So, what'd you think? And anything you want to add there?
Yes, I actually felt the opposite. I felt like they built his character up for us to root for him because in all of the situations that we saw him in, he was kind of like the victim who never cried that he was a victim. So hear me out. So
I'm just, my mouth is salivating, but I'm like.
So he, of course, was the result of a broken home. So we see his father, like at a very young age, stuff drugs in his backpack and tell him to go home to his mother. So he's like in this world as a child. And then we see Vivica's character always kind of asking him, hey, we don't lie in the house with me. And if you lie in the house with me, you leave and you go live with your dad. But he still didn't want to snitch on his father. So he was always trying to protect his dad. And then he ends up in prison because his dad pulls him into a situation that he doesn't want to be in. And he's telling his dad, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right. I'm only here because you asked me to be here. And then, of course, he ends up going to prison for it. And then he ends up, while he's in prison, the way they frame the story, he ends up being abused in prison, even in circumstances where he decides, okay, I see a way out of this for myself, and I'm going to do the best I can to like treat this circumstance with as much respect as I can bring to it. So he starts respecting the prison guard, and they still beat him up even when he doesn't do anything. So he always is in a situation where he's trying to better himself, but the world is always against him. So you are rooting for him. And also this relationship with Tammy or whatever, Tammy, they frame the relationship to be one where he was like actually cared about this woman. So he gets into this relationship with her. And I mean, hey, I'm not judging. I don't know the real person, but the way they frame it is as if he like really begins to develop this care for this woman who's putting money on the books for him. And he calls her every day to check in with her because he misses her.
You didn't hit that in real life. Come on, man.
But I'm just like,
you've been in prison how long? Come on, man. Cut it out.
In love with her.
Cut it out, man.
So they framed it that way. Like, so there was this, and he wanted to get home to see his baby because he found out that his girlfriend at the time was pregnant, and they were withholding the ultrasound that she sent to him. They wouldn't let him see it. So there were all these, and they were like feeding him the worst of the worst food on purpose. Even when he had money in his commissary, they wouldn't give him the food he paid for out of the money in his commissary. He was constantly trying to like do better in the film, but everybody kept keeping a foot on his neck. Like, no, you deserve to be here and you're never going to do better. So, you know, he did decide to break out, but I think we were set up in a way to root for him, to say, I want this guy. And the fact that it was a marijuana charge, come on, like, and we know the system, like all these black men who were incarcerated for drug charges related to marijuana. And on the flip side, until Biden fixed it. And then on the flip side, which people won't give him credit for. And then on the flip side, all of these young white kids are making money off of it and becoming millionaires while all these black men are still locked up. So we are, in a sense, set up to root for him because we want to see justice applied to him at some point in his life because he wants it and he's fighting for it. My only gripe with this film, and I thought it was, like you said, that was very well cast. The performances were great. I just wish it wasn't a 2-hour sitting in a cell.
You could have cut a half an hour out of this movie. Definitely a half an hour out of it.
I feel like they could have. I wanted to see his whole story, right? So my expectation walking into the film was that we're going to see him escape prison, go back to prison, and then fight for his freedom, fire his attorney, and then represent himself, and then get out of jail. Like I was expecting to see the entirety of his story because we have 2 hours. Let's see the full story, but we only got to see him in prison. Like we just saw his battle to break out.
It was like a breakout movie. It really wasn't about like his story. It was about him just breaking out. And I was like, exactly. There's more to that. But again,
right.
That's an interesting point that you rooted for him, but I couldn't because at this point, everything you said is more of a reason that I couldn't root for him because you know the trials and tribulations of black men that you can't do that, right? And it's listen, if you over 21 years old at some point, and you've already been locked up in the system so many times, and they already knew that he could escape out of prison, so they're like, you ain't escaping out of here. So it's like you've already have a track record, right? It's like at some point you got to realize, man, I got to wake up. And he does, like slowly as he's trying to figure it out, but he's still going to escape, right? So it's like he's realizing as he's planning his escape. There are some moments where you see another inmate kind of go through it, you know, getting abused as well. I won't give that away. People want to see it. But yeah, there are a lot of moments where it just reminds you, yeah, I want to stay out of trouble and I just want to go into prison.
But I think that's where we see his humanity, and that's why we root for him because he is the person who's saying, "Hey, help him!" Don't just treat him like a number in prison. Like, help him. This guy is telling you he needs help. He's young. He needs help. He's supposed to be on medication. You guys aren't giving him his medication. You're withholding it from him. He's reaching out for help, and they wouldn't listen to him. So I think those are the little moments where we do see the humanity in Boscoe, and those are the things that make you root for him. You're like, he shouldn't be in jail because it was a marijuana charge, and everybody is now selling marijuana and making money off it, but this man is still in prison. He has a heart. He has a baby on the way. He wants to get out so he can be a good person. He loves his mother. He develops this relationship with this woman outside of prison and we see an emotional connection between the two of them. So we see him as humanized. We don't see him as this like gun-toting, drug-dealing, crazy person who just keeps breaking out of jail. They paint the picture of a man who is in a bad situation that he shouldn't be in because marijuana is legal and everybody else is making money off of it. So why is he still in prison? So we see the story of a man who was caught in a system that was designed for him to be caught in it. But as he's fighting to try to get out of it, they keep keeping their foot on his neck and holding him in a circumstance because he's black. So we do want to root for him. I think from the lens I saw it, I was rooting for him.
Yeah, I mean, he represents all the negative black stereotypes. And so that's what it's like pushed in your face. Like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And so I don't know. It was just for me personally, it was tough to me to like sometimes because even his mannerisms he was just angry. I remember those angry young kids that just like to get through to them, like to understand, it took so much. And then they wind up causing more hurt and pain. Like to his mother, you saw that hurt and pain. Like, when are you going to get it and wake up? Like, hey, he doesn't care about you. Your dad doesn't care about you. I'm here for you. Let's be truthful. Let's be honest. Let's have that relationship. I don't know. I guess I saw so many negative things that it was hard for me to root for him at the end of the day, which I totally understand. I see it from your point of view, but it was a tough play for me to kind of do that.
But then again, that's why I say, as the film progressed, you see him say, you know what? I am responding out of anger. I am responding out of frustration, and I need to change my behavior or my circumstance won't change. We see that happen. And then when he does do that, he's like, you know what? I'm a different person. I'm not going to respond. And then they still beat him up. So it's like we see him evolve, and we see everybody else say, you don't get to evolve. So that's why I'm like, okay, there are moments where we go, we want him to have an opportunity to become the person he wants to become.
That's a valid point, because in life it's the same thing, right? It's like, hey, I'm doing everything the right way, right? And then you're still gonna knock me upside my head. It's like, I can't win. And I think that speaks for a lot of us when we're in that situation. It's like, hey man, I'm doing the right things. I'm paying the bills on time. I'm going to work, and then boom, this happens out of nowhere. And it's like, damn, I can't win. So what do I do? And he still perseveres, and he still finds a way to get going. So now his story is being told. And one thing I'll add is when I spoke to the director, he's like, he spent time with them, and also the young man who played Bosco. And he's like, yo, he was a deep dude. Like, you know, he would open up about stuff, about jail, about prison, about him being locked up for the wrong reasons, which was a joke at the time, which they took so serious. So there's a lot of layers of that. And now he's trying to help people out and trying to do more for the community. So I think that's a bigger message at the end of the day. It's like, hey, if you do find a way to get out of there, you know, not only tell your story, but also give back to the community you came out of, because maybe you might be saving another life there. So I thought that was a beautiful moment. So again, there are very things sprinkled throughout the film. But yeah, like you said earlier, I really wish they brought it full circle. I really got to know him more versus it being more of an escape movie.
100%.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I actually enjoyed the film. I promise you, I walked into it a little bit going, probably not going to like this, but I actually enjoyed it. And I just kind of wish they would have went like more of an independent route and got some awards, and then got propelled into like everybody's face so they could watch it. I don't know, because I don't know if this film as well got enough publicity and promo. It's just kind of on Peacock.
Yeah. And then they're basically using Vivica to promote, because I didn't even see Tyrese post about it or talk about it at all. He's like, I got a check. I'm paying bills. You know, it's like the people who really want to talk about it, they're just like, we'll see what happens in the film. So yeah, check it out. Like I said, it is currently playing on Peacock. And yeah, if you have Peacock, it's free. So that is our show. Before I leave you guys, I want to say thank you all again. It's been a great month, February. We are back next week. I would love to do the movie Bob Marley. I don't know, Rob, maybe?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, there we go. So Rob, that means you should probably see it this weekend. That's it.
Yes, I will do my best to go see it Saturday.
Anytime somebody starts a sentence with "I will do my best," they are lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. That is a lie. That is a lie. I will do my best means, mofo, if I got time, I will do it. When are you back in Miami?
Probably not until I'm gonna be here.
2 weeks. You're gone for like 2 weeks. So okay. So we'll hit up when you get back. All right. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, there's two interesting films. Watch them both. I think everybody should go, sit down this weekend, watch Welcome Back Franklin with their kids, get a little Black History Charlie Brown special on with the kids. And then Bosco, I think this is a big topic for us, having these conversations around the injustice of Black people being locked up for marijuana charges while other communities thrive and flourish off of selling it. So it's a great conversation to have. I think this was a great film. My only gripe is I wish that they wouldn't have just focused on 2 hours of him being in prison and breaking out, as opposed to us seeing a piece of him in prison, developing those relationships, breaking out, going back, and then fighting for his freedom and finally getting it and connecting with his daughter at the end. I really wish we would have got to see the full breadth of that story and not just, hey, I'm in prison going crazy and then I break out. But which it was good. It was still good.
Okay. All right. There we go. Thank you all for tuning in. See you next week.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you, Rob.